Right, folks, we're back here again for another week. We have New York fresh off his victory on Saturday night. Shane Carthy. We have Mickey Cunningham joining us in a few minutes as well. Right, lads, how's the form, Shane? How are you getting on?
Great, yeah. It's a mental couple of days there. We're going off a few hours sleep, but as you can probably hear in my voice. But no, look, the dust is starting to settle now. I was back in work today, and I'm back up in Boston. I flew back up yesterday afternoon, so a bit of a come down today. All right.
You were on the Sunday game on Sunday night, were you?
Yeah. Flinner rang me. It was like, "Come here, we're going to go on the Sunday game. Any chance you'd be able to come on?" And I was like, "But I'm after having about 6 bottles here. Like, I don't know if I'm able to come on." He was like, "Look, we'll give you a couple hours." And I was like, all right, sound. Yeah. So I just had to have a coffee and relax for a little bit.
For fuck's sake. And what's a bit like in terms of how? Just getting back to you, how? I didn't know you're actually back involved, Shane. Obviously, you got back involved in January. How did that come about, or what happened there?
It was a bit mad, like, because I'd been training in the gym with a buddy of mine, Kieran McFall, who got into a bit of trouble in Boston, and he was staying with me for, while this whole core thing was going on. And like, he's an animal trainer and was in the gym, like, doing mental stuff. And so I was training with him kind of over the winter, and then I got a text on Instagram from one of the lads on the squad, this guy Luke. He came on in extra time there, and he basically just like, any chance you'd want to play with New York. And I was like, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, but like, I haven't played intercounty football in a couple of years. I have to get myself right. But I said, look, I still want to play at my club in Boston. So if there's a way that I could play with Donegal Boston and still, because I don't want to be transferring to New York to play club football in New York all summer. Like, it just wouldn't have worked out. Like, so they said, all right, leave it with us. And then I got a call from the manager in, like, I think it was like the 10th of January. And was like, yeah, look, we found out that, like, New York was your home county, so technically you can declare back for your home county, some sort of loophole anyway. And basically the way, like, Shane Walsh is able to play for Galway but have his club in Dublin, in Crokes. So I said, all right, well, fair enough. Look, give me a couple of weeks to get stuff organised here. And I kind of looked at the calendar and I was like, right, how are we logistically going to do this? And he said they were very accommodating.
Shane, sorry, hold on one sec. Shane, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, Mickey's after joining us there. How's things, Mickey?
Well, man, how's it going?
You're just after going through Shane's thought process there. So, what I was going to say, no, sorry, go on, Shane. Just continue there what were you saying there? Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no. It was just, we were basically just like looking at the diary and how it would work. So I basically was like, right, well, I'll come down on a Thursday. We mapped it out. It was like 10 trips in total. Because of Paddy's week, I was back actually in Ireland and I had booked with work. I was going to be in Cheltenham and away in Ireland. So it was like 10 trips in total. Come down on a Thursday. My dad has a house in New York in Yonkers, so I'd stay there Thursday, train with the lads, work remotely Friday, train Saturday and fly back up Sunday. So it was like, right, look, 10 trips, I can make that work. Like, bit different than what you were doing, Vars, going up and down in the one day. Remember you telling me the story there? You used to get to the City West Hotel or something, and it was a 4-hour bus back route. So, like, I was like, I'm not doing stuff like that. Like,
no.
It worked out well.
Stevie, do you want to cut across there, man?
No, listen, lads, well done. Shane, well done. Mickey, well done. Fantastic victory for you. I was over in the States in 2019, actually. Stayed up in Yonkers. Great part of the world. Great part of the world, man. And I know, obviously, from chatting to Mickey Coleman and a few others that have been driving a lot of the underage stuff there, lads, over the last number of years. I know they've had great success. Their field teams have had great success, but can you see lads within the squad? Obviously, you know, you are both obviously players that have played over here in Ireland, but from a homegrown perspective, I see Mickey Brosnan scored the penalty. He's obviously an American native. Like, is there development coming, lads? Is there, Mickey? Is there a lot of young lads coming through the panel?
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose a different sort of angle on that is a few years ago I was involved with like a ladies senior team here, and all the girls were literally like, I'd say about 80% of them were under the age of 20, all Irish Americans. Like we literally only had maybe one or two Irish players of a panel of 30, and the technical quality of them was unbelievable. Just kind of goes to show like the great coaching and work being done, you know, in New York. Yeah, it's the best example I can think of, just of like, you know, you're asked to kind of take a few sessions. You think this is going to be, you know, basic or whatever. And I remember going to it and being like, these girls are unbelievable footballers. Like technically, like their skills, their fundamentals are unreal. And it's like, you could just see it pretty instantaneously that like they've been doing, you know, hours and hours of work themselves, or being coached for years. Like, and yeah, it was an eye opener for me. But then, yeah, we have some lads on the team who are like full American born, like a few younger Barnabas lads, and you know they're unreal technically as well. Like it's like there's no real difference. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like it's hard to kind of explain, but you know you wouldn't think that these guys grew up never like, you know, playing like GAA like all full time. Like they're equally as good as boys at home. You know.
So just to get back, like Shane obviously left in 2009, right? Have you noticed much of a difference? Like Mickey, how long are you there, Mickey? How long are you in New York?
Since the end of 2017.
Okay. Have you noticed the standards come up, boys?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm delighted you asked Mickey that question, Stephen, because I wouldn't have been able to. I was giving a bit of trash talk to some of the Leitrim boys. I was like, I don't even know these lads' names on the team. Like, and yeah, you still can't beat this. Like, I've never done as much trash talk in my life. But we kind of need to go to that place. We need to go to that place. Like,
it would be like, yeah.
I had a lot of stuff prepared for that one. Another one was what's worse for losing to us is you have to go back to Leitrim.
I know Mickey a long time, and Mickey's fond of a bit of trash talking too. Like, nah, I'm only kidding. The problem, Mickey would never open his mouth when I remember him playing, for fuck's sake.
Another one I was saying was what's worse about losing to us is you'll have to go back to Leitrim to live over there. In fairness, I met Shane Quinn. He was a centre back late, early hours of Sunday morning or Monday morning. And like I was like, look, no hard feelings, and he was laughing. He was saying, like we knew what the crack was, and it was a good out. We were laughing. We took a picture and stuff. So, but in terms of development, like when I left in 2009, New York was very much just thrown together. There was no real squad unity. It was like literally like just throwing a group of 15 players out there. Yeah. Whereas when I came back into the squad this year. Like Mickey was there last year, so maybe he'll know more. But for me, it just felt like this was an actual real team. They had a real group of guys that are very tight, and I felt like my whole thing was I didn't want it to be, you know, it's never, as you know what it's like, it's never about one individual. It's always about the team. But I felt like there was a massive platform of like unity and a real bond between all the players, and I got a real sense of team that buzz from the guys. Likes of Mickey, as soon as I met guys, you could see their energy. They're just very positive, and they were delighted that I was, you know, willing to come in and commute and try and give that effort. So I definitely felt like a massive difference compared to what it was like in 2009.
Very good. Mickey, Johnny McGeaney, the manager. Who else is in with Johnny?
Gareth Bailey, boy from Bransford. And
Bransford.
There's a boy, Mick Catterson, as well. He's from Tyrone. And there's another lad, Brian Henry, from Sligo. There's a good few in the backroom team, like Sharon, Sinead, and Michelle as well, all help out. And Kevin Moriarty. Like, there is some squad of people there. But, like, in terms of just saying about, like, the quality in that, definitely there's unreal quality in New York. Like, even St. Barnabas winning the senior championship 2 years in a row. Like, they're all Irish American players, and like they're beating teams that have, you know, like established county players. Like for example, I know they beat Sligo in the final that had Peter Cook playing. I play with Brooklyn, and literally nearly every player on our team would have played county football at the time. And you know, it's always a 1 point game against like Barnabas, whatever. It's really, really tight. Like, so that kind of illustrates just how good these guys are. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, good. Yeah, super.
And lads, what's you know, preparation, lads? Obviously, Leitrim had the league, the National League, to prepare for this. Like, what's the story with your preparation in terms of warm-up games? Who do you play? What goes on there?
Yeah, it was difficult because, like exactly what you said, we were just playing in-house games maybe every weekend, and the message we were trying to say is like these are our league games, like, and trying to build yourselves up for them. But it's very difficult. Like, you know, you both know yourself. Like an in-house game, you're still kind of minding yourself a little bit, and we did have a lot of knocks and niggles. Like, a good few lads were carrying injuries even going into this game. So, like the training on the AstroTurf for me, you know, up in Boston, it's grass. And trying to get back used to playing on that was definitely took me a bit of time to get used to that, and no spring chicken anymore. So trying to put the mileage on the legs fairly quick, I felt it massively. But yeah, like it was very honestly, it's very hard to try and get yourself up for in-house games and training. And Mickey, I'm sure it's the same for you.
Yeah. Like that's the big thing. Like no, never doubted the quality in our team or anything, but it's just like them getting those league games and, you know, those other games where they're playing together as a team is pretty invaluable. And maybe that showed just when the game starts, because, you know, maybe we have some guys, it's just hard to get up to that pace like straight away, whereas Leitrim were out of the blocks, you know, they were 3-0 up, I think, in the first 10 minutes. But yeah, that is probably the most difficult thing. But at the same time, as Shane said there, we sort of put like every weekend we're playing each other, and boys be cutting lumps out of one another, like, you know yourselves, like just to try and stake a claim for a jersey. So although it's not the exact same as, you know, playing together as a unit or whatever, because you know yourself, when you go play like away games, whatever, you get good bonds and good, you know, get playing with lads and you can build relationships. But I still think our in-house games were pretty good every weekend. Like,
myself and Adrian Varley had joked that we were in the physio and we were laughing and joking, saying we actually never actually trained together, and we had no idea what way it was gonna, like, you know, because I was gonna be kicking the ball in, and I was like, well, what way do you want me kicking this ball? Like, this is right before the game, like the night before, and he was like, I was like, we need to talk to the lads, like how we're gonna get scores here, and we just had a bit of a meeting, and it was kind of like, we better try and put some structure in place here, otherwise we're just going to be helter skelter. And you could probably see that, like Mick said, the first 10 minutes we were a little bit just trying to get to the pace of it, you know what I mean? And then once we kind of got our foothold in the game, we felt grand. But that was the problem, really.
Sorry, did you stay together the night before, boys, or like, you know, in terms of, did you do like, you know, standards? We, like you said, video analysis. Did you do video analysis and all that type of jazz? Like, do you have S&C with the boys? Obviously, you've a lot of inter-county boys here. They'd be doing gym work themselves. Like, is that obviously just standard now at this stage?
There was no S&C, no. Like, it was kind of do a bit of your own gym stuff for yourselves, which luckily we have guys with experience that know what to be doing. Yeah. But we a little bit of video analysis, like we'd watch their kickouts, and like we were getting the games, but we weren't really collectively watching as a group. Yeah. And I guess my whole thing was, I don't want to put, no disrespect to Leitrim, but put them on too much of a pedestal, and it was more trying to instill in our guys, like, look around you, like we have excellent quality here, and especially to the American kids, because I felt like we were giving too much respect to them, as opposed to like some of the guys needed the arm around the shoulder, like some of the Shane Brosnan was playing wing back the other day. I was telling them, like, you're better than like, you know, Jack McCaffrey, not better, but you're as good as any of these backs back in Ireland. Like, back yourself. And because they're not playing games, they're not getting that. So that was the only thing we had to try and instill, was our belief.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge. Well, that was the biggest challenge. I was going to say, like, even the likes of London there, you know, they've come across this last 3 years actually to Down, and they've had a training camp, you know, at the early January in preparation for the National League, and they've played maybe like a second string from Armagh on the Saturday and maybe Down on the Sunday or something, you know, and it's a big advantage being able to play those games, lads, you know. So it's actually huge for yourselves, like, because obviously it's probably the biggest challenge of the lot for you, not having those competitive games. Which probably, in the fact, when it went extra time, it shows the preparation you have put in as well. Maybe, obviously from a training perspective, lads, like they've been able to withstand extra time. The fact that Leitrim would have had the 7 or 8 games under their belt as well was testament to yourself. Quick one for you, lads. Is Gaelic Park the base then? Do you train anywhere else, or is it just Gaelic Park?
No, we've there's other pitches like for example, we'll be training on grass now in Rockland. Their setup's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And just in preparation for this next game now that'll be on grass, we'll be training there, and they have full floodlights. I think it's the biggest GAA pitch outside of Ireland. Like, it's unreal.
Sorry, Mickey, we actually were up there. I think it was the opening 2010. I think they opened that place. It's absolutely as you said, the facilities up there are phenomenal. Savage.
Were you
pitch.
playing that day, Vars?
We played. I think we played New York back.
I was playing that game. Yeah.
Were you playing that game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Savage place. Fucking savage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's unreal. But and then there's another one out in Queens now as well. Shannon Gales have their own pitch. But like I was talking to a lad as well, like Shannon Gales is Frank Golden Park, but like Shannon Gales under 10s have like 6 different teams. That's just like the numbers they get out, and like again, boys, you'd be scratching your head, like wondering, like, are we in America here? Like, you know what I mean? Some of the times that, because there's maybe, you go to like a blitz or something, there's like 100 kids running around. Last year we were meant to train with Brooklyn, and there was a hurling blitz for like under 8s and under 10s, and the pitch absolutely wedged with kids, like, and you're like is this, you don't think you're in America, like it's just something you would see maybe in Castlewell, like back home,
Yeah,
it's mad.
I know it. I noticed that, Mickey. I noticed that in 2019 when it was open for the long weekend. I noticed there's a huge, very, very proud of their tradition and their Irish culture as well, and I know from speaking to a few people over there, particularly their Féile squads, singing the national anthem together at the end of training and at the end of matches and stuff, and together in the change rooms is class. Like, it's great to see, it's fantastic, and long may it continue, because obviously if the structures are right underage, there'll be a steady stream, and you're not relying then on those sporadic every couple of years of players. Tell me this: what about the Monday club? More importantly, was obviously a Monday club.
I was just going to ask that.
If you go drinking in Ireland on a Monday, everyone's looking at you as if you have a problem. But you're over there, a Monday is like a normal fucking like a weekend day, isn't it?
Mickey had a poor show. No. Well, the game was on a Saturday, so
I see.
The Sunday was actually better. Saturday evening then under lights as well. It was deadly, like, because you had it the Sunday as well. So it was, the bars were open late over here in New York. So Sunday night it was a 5 a.m. I was on with Marty Morrissey on RT Radio 1 at 5:15.
Oh.
So they had told me the day before, so I was like, sound, I'll just stay out till like 5 then, that's grand. And sure enough, I got in at like 5 and then hopped on the radio there with Marty at like 5:15 with sound.
Yeah.
Where was the scene on the Sunday, Mickey? Where did you just go?
We went to Jerry's place in Upper East Side, but yeah, as Shane said there, I sort of tipped on early because I've started my own company here with 2 other lads. So like, if I'm not at it, then nothing happens. You know what I mean? So it means, but it's actually a blessing in disguise though, because sometimes then I just take myself off. Just, when you know yourselves when you kind of hit that tipping point, and it's maybe damage limitation from there on in. So I don't know. This last maybe 6 months, I've got a good habit in place of just tipping on home.
But here, Mickey, I can guarantee you Paddy Boyle didn't tip on home or Big Moo.
Yeah. I haven't spoken to them lads to get the post-mortem just yet.
How was Gaelic Park, lads? It must have been rocking, was it? Was that the first penalty shootout you were involved in, Mickey?
No, not the first penalty shootout, but it was crazy after, like grown men that I've never met or whatever, and just older women and stuff, just like going mad, like couldn't believe it. And I know a lad actually who's been here, like 30, 40 years and all, and like tears in his eyes, just saying like, he never thought he'd see the day and stuff like that. So like, again, boys, it's so hard to explain to people at home, but like, you don't know, like, even I don't realize how much it means to some people, over here who have been here for years. And yeah, like all Saturday night and even during Sunday, like just people reaching out to you that like you never would have thought of even watching the match, but maybe just got your number from someone and was just like so grateful that we're part of history or whatever.
Yeah, brilliant.
Did I read, Carthy? Did you have a quad? You didn't tear your quad? That could be right. Did you tear your quad before the game?
I literally the week before I was kicking frees and probably kicking them better than I ever did. That was probably the problem. I definitely I was kicking into the wind from like 4 and I was welly in the ball and I felt straight away a sharp and I knew something's not right here. So they reckoned it was some sort of strain, but I was just like, look, in my head it was fine, but I knew something was right. So going in, I was like a couple of painkillers and trying to get as much adrenaline into me. Like I was trying to feed off the crowd. I was getting full of caffeine and just roaring and jumping into it and trying to get the energy into me.
When you got that spot for the equaliser, that left hand spot, I knew well before I left. That's your spot. That's your spot in training. That's your fucking left and right.
Yeah. Well, you know yourself, like just all the training that you'd be putting in, and I literally had a conversation with Davy Goldrick. You probably both know he's one for like chatting away to you the whole game. And on a first name basis with all the players. So I literally was like, Davey, like how long do we have here? He's like, this is it now, Shane, last kick of the game. And I was like, right, all right.
But even he's gone, is he? He must be gone there, is he? I don't know, drop the line. So Mickey, what's the story in terms of Sligo now in a couple of weeks? Or what's the plan for the next couple of weeks, or what's going on there?
Well, obviously we're getting home then next Wednesday night, so we'll be home probably. I don't know if we arrive the Thursday morning, but yeah, we'll set up and give it a rattle. And you know what I mean? Like it's. I don't know. Me and Shane would talk about stuff like this, but these are just things to be embraced. You know what I mean? Championship semi-finals or big games in the championship is like what you play for, and when you're a young fella, these are the kind of games you want to be involved in. So again, that's my attitude, just to go out and just enjoy yourself. Like you work. I was never one of these lads who's like, you need to be like, I don't know, fire and brimstone to hold yourself to these mad standards or whatever. Like you work literally all year for these games. It's about going out and giving it your best shot and let the chips fall where they may. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mickey, you touched on it there, Mickey. Obviously, I'm not keeping you too much longer, but you touched on it there earlier. Where you talked about, that gentleman that went onto the field and being part of that historic occasion, and there are memories that last forever. And I suppose that's the game we're in. We were chatting before we went on air, and we're thinking about how sterile the inter-county game has become. There's the enjoyment has nearly been fucking oozed out of it now at this stage. By people, and you have to enjoy those moments, enjoy the occasions, and I'm sure. You'll go in a couple of weeks now and really, really enjoy it. And even for the likes of yourselves there, lads, obviously, you both played inter-county football, at a high level, in New York, and obviously to be part of this obviously means something, Shane, to yourself and Mickey. Would it be right?
100%, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. For me, it was up there. It's probably the greatest moment in both of our careers, realistically, because that's a first ever historic thing. Look, Dublin could win an All-Ireland this year, or if not, maybe it's next year. And the same with the club, they'll win a championship, but it's not the first ever. And to be part of that was something really, really special, because you touched on there, I'm up in Boston, Mickey's he's running his own job in New York, and there's so much going on. And for everyone all across different periods of their lives, from all over Ireland, America, to come together, to not even really know each other. I'd only been in there kind of 10 weeks. Owen Kearns came a couple of weeks later. We were kind of thrown together, but we really just clicked and became a real squad so quickly, which is very hard to do. You've been a part of county teams before. Both of you know yourself. You'd be going on bonding trips, and you'd be trying. It takes a long time to try and get that bond, and for us to try and get that and actually get it within 8 weeks was very, very. That was probably the most impressive thing for me, is that we became really good friends so quickly.
To be honest, that'll be one of the highlights of the whole GA calendar here. The video clip of the final whistle going and Johnny Glynn hugging one of your, I don't know, it was a physio who it was, and then the whole squad running out on the middle of the pitch, and your man Brosnan who scored the winning penalty, and he was just going mental, and it was nearly back to the mid-90s again, where the people were coming onto the pitches again. It was fucking great to see, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just
a good picture of me and Larry McCarthy, like he's the GAA, like, and he was after after. I was like, Jesus, like, what's going on here? Like,
hey, Shane, that's you in a private box now for the All Ireland final this year, boy. Flights first.
Well, I'm hoping I could be still playing by then, you know.
Yeah. Can't find it, lads. Can't find it. Look, Leitrim, Sligo. You know yourselves the league results this year. There's only been a kick of ball between them two teams the last year. So obviously, I'm not like it'll be a kick of the ball again, lads. Honestly.
Yeah,
and you know that.
We played them last year. And it was a good game. Like, but like Sligo will be like they have some really good players too. You know, like now Murphy and Sean Carbine, boys like that. But like again, we're here now, and we'll just go out and enjoy ourselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like, play with a smile on your face, give it everything you have, and see how you get on. You know what I mean? It's basically as simple as that.
See, lads, just Steve, if you want to cut across there, any other? Are you happy enough?
No, listen, lads, thanks very much. Brilliant. Like, listen, it's great to have you on, and wish you all the best now. Fantastic. It's great. Like, I think what Shane touched on is right. Like, is, you know, we can talk about Dublin, Mayo, Clare every week, like, but you know, the story of the season will undoubtedly be yourselves and that first historic victory. So well done, lads, and enjoy the next few weeks, boy.
Vars, it's funny because we're still in the Connacht Championship, and for some reason Mayo are out of it.
Hi, Shane. Shane, he's been telling me off air. He's been telling me off here. This is our year.
You're the one building us up all fucking year. You don't start this shit.
I had to get that in somewhere.
Oh, stop fucking hell. We'll see. I'm not even going to say anything. Lads, thanks a million for coming on. Really appreciate it. And well done again.
Yeah, no bother.
Thanks, lads.
Cheers,
guys. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
That was nice, I have to say.
That's great. And listen, Mickey's a lovely lad, boy. Mickey's a real gentle giant, boy. He's just such a quiet fella. Came through the underage structures at Down as well. A really good goalkeeper. And to be honest with you, Shane, if he was still in the country, he would probably be Down's first choice goalkeeper. You know, he's very, very assured and real calm and composed, you know, and nothing flusters Mickey. You know, he's a real good goalkeeper, you know. Real good goalkeeper. But it's fantastic to see them enjoying it too, Shane. I think that's a big thing. And myself and yourself talked about this, like, you know, the game has become very, very sterile, you know, and very serious. And, you know, the fun has been nearly oozed out of it now, where, you know, your post-match celebration out at the county level is a recovery shake and a coffee now. You know, there's the days of drinking for 2 or 3 days after a championship match have just gone. Like, you know,
those scenes, we'll say a few minutes in the dressing room with the squad. They're the best. After the final whistle, and you get everyone together in the dressing room, and you're having a beer together, and you know you've obviously accomplished something really significant. I'd say, you know, those 10-15 minutes together, that's where the memories are going to be formed.
Absolutely. You know, and they need to be enjoyed. Yeah, you need to enjoy every victory. You know?
So getting on to the debacle of Mayo and Roscommon the last day. Obviously not a great day for me, but what did you make of it, or where do we go from here?
Well, I think we both called a number of things that actually unfolded. I said Roscommon would go long and kickouts, and I think that was obviously a strategic play. It's something that I was looking at Mayo thinking, take away, you know, you've got to look at where a team get their energy, and where Mayo get their energy is from a high press. It's from nearly the team gets a short kick out away, and you've seen it in the second half. Connor Carlin nets for Roscommon was nearly caught a few times, you know, Shane, with that sort of manic intensity, which made me sort of like absolutely astonished that in the first half with an absolute gale force wind behind them that they just let Roscommon control the ball. Roscommon played the game in their terms. They kept possession. There was no big panic. There was no, and Mayo, I think they only really got a bit of energy maybe once or twice in that first half, Shane. You know, I think that was one big thing that we called that Roscommon would go long, and they did. Okay, they took that energy out. And the second thing that you talked about as well, Mayo struggle with structured defence, you know, and Davy has been playing the very same way, you know, from game one this year. Roscommon have been very, very rigid defensively. A lot of bodies behind the ball. The difference probably with having bodies behind the ball, people sort of have this misperception that, okay, filter numbers back, but safety in numbers never really works. When you're back there, it has to be absolute manic intensity. That scoring zone has to be, you have to be so disciplined. You have to tackle like you have to tackle in packs, you have to hunt in packs, you have to chase and harry and harass. And then when you turn the ball over, you have to bust your balls going the other way too. And that's a big thing, like, you know, and he's obviously got the team, you know, playing with a lot of intensity, a lot of fight. You know, they've now, I think the big hoodoo for Roscommon was getting those couple of wins in Division 1, something that they hadn't done in their previous 3 or 4 visits to Division 1. So that was a massive, massive hoodoo. To finish third in Division 1 is giving them a great platform to go into the championship. And hey, they were fully deserved winners on Sunday in my eyes, like, you know.
The only, look at it, you said it there, Stevie, in terms of the only time Roscommon looked to be in trouble when they did try and go short, in terms of the couple of times in the first half and even the second half. I'll be honest, I texted Davey after the game and I said, well deserved, and I said that goalie's going to give you a hashtag by the end of the year. But I like, in terms of, yeah, look, we had our reservations with Mayo in terms of their midfield and their middle four. We'll say Jordan Flynn and Fio McDonough. They're all kind of medium-sized men. Like Enda Smith, I thought, had a phenomenal game in terms of winning that primary possession, gave them a platform, and obviously Jim Murtagh then in the full forward line. I think he scored 6. Just the frees and the 2 massive scores from play. The 2 scores, well, one of them in the second half from a counter-attack, and you could see it build. And once Mayo obviously missed those 2 goal chances, and you know, we said it, like, obviously Mayo get a lot of their scores from first phase ball in terms of, you know, it's either a quick kick out from their own kick out, or it's winning the opposition kick out. And Mayo, the 2 goal chances came off, even Ado's half goal chance in the second half came from a short kick out that went wrong for Roscommon. So it's definitely, I think Davies kind of, which worries me, he's come up with a bit of a blueprint how to handle Mayo and how to beat us. And other teams be looking at that. But look, in terms of Mayo, you know, they obviously, there is a balance to this. They're not all of a sudden, you know, the best team last week and the worst team this week. So, you know, they're going to regroup here. They're going to have to answer serious questions. Have to look in the mirror and see where they can improve in terms of, you know, you said it there, Stevie, going through, they struggle when they don't get a long kick out off, you know, transition ball quickly off. You know, when they have to, you know, obviously run the ball through, you know, 15 men, like, they do struggle with that. So that's something they have to look at and seriously improve on. You know, people will say, obviously, look to the lack of energy and 7-day turnaround. And yes, they probably did look, you know, a bit flat. But in saying that, you know, Roscommon were full value for their victory here. You know, obviously the 2 goal chances, if they got the 2 goal chances in the first half, it could have been a different game. But yeah, I think it would have papered up the cracks if Mayo got over the line there on Sunday, to be honest with you.
Listen, Davy nailed an awful lot right by his matchups as well. Davy Morley on O'Donoghue in the second half. Big Keith Doyle sort of track Paddy Durkin's runs as well. Keith's a young fella but very athletic, you know, real full of mobility. And, you know, obviously, look, it was common, and this is the thing as well, probably Shane, that is probably lost among some people. Like, you know, people look at Enda Smith and Donny Smith and the household names, you know, but Scotland have a lot of real good defenders as well. The likes Connor Hussey, the Dailies, you know, from obviously from Pearce's club, like, you know, are obviously real dogs of war. You know, they've introduced a couple of the under-20s from the successful team of a number of years ago who got the All-Ireland final and probably should have won that final, in fact. Like, but you've the likes of Ben O'Carroll coming in, Keith Doyle, the goalkeeper. You know, you've got the likes of Brian Stack, who, like, Stacky for me, like, even when I was there 3 years ago, and Brian was honestly one of the best defenders we had that COVID year. That year he had marked Shane Walsh, he had marked Con, he had marked Rion O'Neill. He had picked up the best player in the opposition in all those years and was never out of his depth in any of those games. And then obviously, Enda is a real powerhouse. He's coming into the prime years of his career. He's been around a long time. Very, very powerful runner with the ball. When Enda Smith runs with the ball, like there's very, very few men can stop him. But I think a big thing what they have this year is with the addition of some of those younger lads. And they have now got what I would call finishers coming off the bench. So Cox came off the bench there at the weekend. You're not relying on him to kick 5 or 6 points. He's coming in as an impact man. Kieran Murtagh has come off the bench. Damer's brother. Damer's having a fantastic season. He's playing with a lot of confidence. Damer and Kieran Murtagh, two of the best forwards I've ever worked with. They're two brilliant forwards. Donny Smith, a great guy, and Donny as well has got a lot of experience, a lot of guile. He's a left foot.
Can I cut across you there for 1 second? I'm sorry now, but with Jeremy Murtagh, we'll say I've always wondered, he was kind of on and off that Roscommon team for years. Was it injuries? Because I always thought he was one of the best forwards at Roscommon. Any glimpses I've seen off him, but I just found it strange. Was it to do with injuries, or I always thought he was a naturally gifted forward and one of the best forwards Roscommon have produced in a number of years. But during your time, what was going on there?
I echo your statements. Maybe it was a confidence thing, or maybe he wasn't shooting the lights out. Maybe that Anthony maybe just didn't feel that maybe he was performing to the levels he could have been performing at, or not working hard enough, or whatever it happened to be. I don't know, but I know for a fact, like just from his talent alone and his ability to take a score, like tell you what he has as well. He's a real ruthless streak about a goal as well. He's goal hungry as well, and if that opportunity arises, he'll go for it. As he scored one of the best goals that in Crow Park last year. I don't know if you remember.
Gives going. Yeah.
Solo across the D and buried it with his left peg into the top corner. Fantastic finish. But no, I think you're right, and it's not all doom and gloom for Mayo. They've come away with a national title. They've got an opportunity now. Probably, I would say they'll probably take a week off. And maybe down tools for a week, give the players a bit of recuperation, and then go at it again, because it is a long road. And the groups are going to be interesting, because I think the dynamics of the group will be interesting. Who is paired with who? How it unfolds. Going to be in the SAM, who's not going to be in the SAM. I don't like the structure. I don't like the system. I think later on down the road, I think we're going to regret this. I think a lot of people are going to say, Jesus, that wasn't enjoyable at all. I've major fears and major reservations over it. And I think the provincials are now being squeezed in as nearly like just get them out of the way type thing. Yeah. I said it before as well as someone over the weekend there. Like, it's absolutely madness that we have a knockout, a group, and then a knockout. It just does not make sense for me, and I just feel there's such an easier way of doing it, and I'm actually going to put my thoughts down on paper. I have an idea in my head where I think if you went to 3 leagues and you had a playoff system in those leagues where you had a top 4 and a bottom 4, albeit outside obviously Division 3, and then you had a subsidiary competition for Division 3 and the bottom 4 of Division 2, and then obviously everyone is into Sam Maguire, and it's a 32 team. Like, your cup competition should be what a cup competition is, a knockout. End of story. And use the provincials in the winter as a warm-up competition in place of the FDB leagues and your O'Byrne Cups and the likes of that, and use your provincials then nearly as a warm-up. And I do feel like if you're giving counties 10 or 11 league games in a row, the leagues are the best product we have. We've said that before, and everyone's playing for something. If you've got a top 4 in Division 1 and a bottom 4, and there's only 11 teams in the league or 10 teams in the league, everyone's playing for something towards the end of the season. There's going to be very, very few dead rubbers, nearly like a playoff system in the AFL or whatever. But look, it's something that I would like to get down in paper and share my thoughts with. But I do feel that we've got a brilliant product that we're not utilising, and that's our league structure, and we're trying to create nearly like a secondary league then with the championship, and it's not going to work this year. Trust me, it's not going to work.
No, I think people will realise after when the group stages kick off, Stevie, and when there's 3 teams going through into the group, people are thinking, well, what's the point in this? Like, if you had two teams, obviously it'd be more exciting. And I get the fact that people are saying, oh, Mayo, obviously 3rd seeds now after winning the league title, even at the fact they'd lost the last day. But they'll get a provincial winner and a provincial loser, and that'll be the first game against the provincial winner, and that will be exciting. But all they have to do is win 1 game here. Like, even obviously, if they lose that game, all right, fair enough. But you still have 2 more chances, and you need to win 1 game in 3 to get through here. So it's completely watered down. As like, what do people dislike over the last number of years? We say, in between kind of 15 and 20, when Dublin were so dominant, people, there's no competition, and people, the interest soon dwindled from there, Stevie. So look, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act between getting the money and keeping that competition. So look, it's like GA doing every year, Stevie. They'll trial this, and if it's not working, they'll do another. They'll do a switcheroo, and they'll do something else. But just the last thing I will say on the Roscommon Mayo game here, I think, I don't know, obviously, look, Stevie, you would have more experience than me as a part of the coaching staff and management team here of an intercounty setup. But obviously with the elements there, McStay would have had their game plan set out going out in that Roscommon game. And obviously the elements, did play a part, especially in that first half. So, did he fall between two stools here in terms of, to me, Mayo half pressed in the first half. They didn't go full bore at it. And I think, as we were discussing before, I think if they went fully, as you said, reap up to the 45 yard and really squeeze Roscommon, and not even if they got a short kick out off, in terms of, that guy can only kick the ball 20, 30 yards against that breeze. If you really squeeze that player on the ball, they would have had joy in that. But as you said, Roscommon looked comfortable on the ball. Yeah, they did, because the fucking Mayo let them look comfortable in terms of the press wasn't high enough, it wasn't aggressive enough, and that's from a collective here. And I thought maybe, I suppose my question is, as a management team, obviously there's going to be two different game plans, with the breeze and against the breeze. Obviously the coin toss is there. Do you get everyone together? Right, lads, this is plan A. We're obviously against the breeze. Right, we want you to really squeeze up here. Obviously that wasn't done the last day.
Yeah, look, it's a mad one, because I go back to Roscommon at home to Tyrone in the earlier stages of the National League, and what actually probably helped Roscommon, right, in that game in particular, is Roscommon actually played a lot of their league games with a gale force wind blowing straight down the field in the Hyde. They actually played a lot of their league games. Armagh, Tyrone were two games that spring to mind in particular, right? So they were used to what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
Against the breeze, they were holding the ball. They were getting Niall Daly on the ball. They were giving it back to the goalkeeper. They were recycling. There was a lot of lateral football, right? A lot of possession-based football. And yes, people don't like it. It's not pretty. But at the same time, it's effective, and it obviously keeps you in the game. There's no point in not being in the game going down the stretch. You have to try and be in the game, particularly if you're an underdog, But in that game, I couldn't understand how Niall Daly was able to play a 1-2 with the keeper, solo the ball out to the 45, turn, give it back, get it back again, and Tyrone dropped off. And Mayo done the same in the first half. And I was thinking, don't get me wrong, a lot of the Roscommon lads are really good footballers. But when you press a team, and pressure creates panic in all sports. Yeah. So the higher you press, and the harder you press, the more panic there is. And you've seen it in the second half a few times when they were caught with a high press. And that's something that I couldn't work out, because that is actually a facet of Mayo's game that they are really, really good at. A lot of teams not press effectively, but Mayo can, because pressing is very, very difficult. You need triggers. So when you're pressing, you have to identify certain triggers. If it's a misplaced pass, if it's a loose play, if it's a certain player on the ball as well. Particularly, I would say Mayo were happy to have the Roscommon goalkeeper on the ball in the second half, because they're probably thinking themselves, we're setting a trap here. We're going to spring it. And listen, look, we're going through all this, and we're saying all this, and we're probably being really critical of Mayo. And I think one of the reasons why we're probably so critical of them is because the expectation and the standards that they set throughout the league. They're the one team in the country who I think feed off energy and press and high, and they didn't do it. They had everything in their favour to do it, and they didn't do it. So I would say they'll probably be asking big questions about that. But then on the flip side of it, to play devil's advocate, if the chance had went in, was it Cohen that hit the bar early? Was it Cohen?
Yeah.
So if Cohen's chance had hit the net, came off the crossbar and hit the net, all of a sudden it might be a completely different game. It might be a completely different game, and Roscommon don't get those couple of breaks that they got with the penalty and the fortunate second moment. And then all of a sudden, then you're looking at a completely different outcome, completely different game,
But ironically, Stevie, I'd say, because it was I've been not given out, but Horn's style of play was, like, in my opinion, was naive at times in terms of that full bore press.
Yeah.
Ironically, if I think if Horn was in charge against Roscommon, we would have beaten them because he wouldn't have allowed that build up. And we were commending Mayo this year for stepping back and not being so open at the back in terms of they dropped to the 45, they compressed the pitch, and they kind of invite teams onto them, not from before when it's man on man, manic press, and it has cost us in the past. But you played the conditions here. The wind was so strong. As you said, the Roscommon creates panic with that full bore press, and I just thought we missed a trick the last day in terms of that, and it's probably as you said. Look, it's going to be high expectations because you're after winning the league title, and that squad themselves obviously have high expectations, and they want to go on later on in the summer. So questions will be asked of where went wrong. But just to get back, Davy after the game was on about the disrespect during the week. So I had a wee smile to myself. But what did you make of that?
No, well, listen, at the end of the day, I always say, and it's as a coach or manager, like, you're always looking for motivation. Now for me personally, I've said this numerous times, like, if you have to go on to someone's social media page or to pull something out of a newspaper article, then obviously you maybe have to look at motivation and where it comes from. For me, your motivation should come from within anyway. I'm not a big believer in trying to delve for this and delve for that, but it is nice to use those little things now and again. It's something obviously that can be harnessed within a group, can be private a group, or something that's maybe been said about an individual or about a team, or or something, or question marks over a team's bottle, for example, or mentality, and that's something that you can prey on. And Davey strikes me as a sort of a likable guy. He sort of strikes me, just reading the piece that Michael Foley done him as well, was very interesting. I didn't realise that he had lost his father at such a young age and stuff, which obviously wouldn't have been easy. And then picking up his injury as well, and he grows himself in coaching. And listen, hats off to the man, because I don't know an awful lot about the fella, but he seems to really like a guy. He seems a fella that you enjoy. You would feed off the energy that he provides as well, because energy is a big thing now. And we're in an environment now where you're dealing with a lot of different individuals, a lot of different personality types. You've got a lot of introverts within squads now, because society's become very social media based. The interaction between young people doesn't take as prevalent a role as it would have done years ago. So young people's communication skills, I notice it with football, particularly in school. The engagement that I would have had, like, I'm teaching 22 years now, and the engagement that I would have had with older lads in school 15, 16 years ago is completely different from the engagement you would have now with them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are very, very, socially inept, and that's a big thing. And so you're relying, in a football environment now, you're nearly relying on a person to be fucking highly energetic and motivating players, and and getting that out of players. And listen, Roscommon have never been too far away, and obviously they won a Connacht title under McStay and under Anthony as well. So it's not as if this is something that they've never done before, but it is something that will give now this new Roscommon team with the younger lads great belief, and fair play to Davey. He seems to be providing a lot of energy to the setup.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. He's a top lad. Obviously, did the pilot with him last year, and he was he's just, his enthusiasm for the game is infectious. So it's I know obviously they bet my native county, but from his point of view, I'm delighted for him. Just looking, we'll touch on before we go here. Obviously, Clare had a great result against Cork.
Brilliant. Down, good friend of mine down, coach Mark Dorn. We'll maybe try and get Mark on to chat with us in the lead up to the final. Mark's a really astute coach, really good coach, and I sort of felt a bit sorry for him, because I know during the National League he'd sort of said to me, look, he says he was just ready to pull the hair out of his head with the amount of things that went. And to be fair to Colin Collins and the Clare group, they were never really coming out and complaining about the hard knocks they got during the National League. There's a lot of big decisions went against them, and Jesus, Enda, they were wild unlucky. Clare could have easily finished, with 7 or 8 points and been cupped in Division 2, and unfortunately they're relegated. But no one within that group now remembers Division 2 at all. After that win the other day, it's about the championship, and Clare have always had a big championship scalp in them. And listen, look, yourself, it's like anything. If you're playing regularly, and people will say, oh, they've no chance against Kerry, but the argument has to be made, why not? If they're really well set up defensively, they make things very difficult for Kerry early. Kerry haven't played maybe in a while or whatever it happens to be, and you just never know. You never know, and I think a big thing now for Clare will be making themselves really competitive as competitive as they can now.
Well, is that the semi? Is that the Munster semi? It must be, obviously.
Yeah,
Munster,
yeah.
I thought just.
And
Clare, I was Jamie Malone, centre back for Clare, is a fine footballer.
Jamie Malone is a wonderful. Stephen Saxon is a class footballer.
Yeah, Saxon had some serious scores.
This is a Clare team who went to Croke Park last summer and beat Roscommon 25-24. You know what I mean? Like it's a Clare team that are hardened lads, and they're what they are. They're a small panel. They have a small panel, but they have a really tight knit atmosphere, real togetherness. They love Colm Collins as a manager. I thought when Tubridy retired this year, they might have struggled for scores, and that has probably been a little bit evident in their they're not scoring highly. They did that 14-point mark, but the big concern for them would obviously be getting that sort of magical 17-18 points that win you most games. That's the big challenge for them. If a team puts the clampers on Malone and Saxon, you're wondering where they're going to get their scores from.
Yeah, and we finish on Armagh Edgeham. You weren't too impressed with the standards.
15 seconds. It was abysmal. The first half was shocking. From an Antrim perspective, hugely disappointed with Antrim in the first half of that game. Now, to be fair, in the second half, they put up a bit more of a spirited performance, but I just was really disappointed. I thought for an Ulster Championship game, Shane, I would always have associated Ulster Championship games, fight and fire and passion and, attritional, and it was dead. And I don't know, I think there's a large part of this as well, for me, is to do with the structure of the competition. The athletic grounds was dead. Like, normally the athletic grounds brings that energy and that fire and that, and I'm sort of thinking to myself, have we just diluted the provincials now to an extent where they don't really mean an awful lot, and I would say Antrim are happy enough to go to the Tailteann Cup and regroup now the players will probably go back to the clubs for a few weeks because the Tailteann Cup probably won't happen for the next 5 or 6 weeks, and then they'll regroup and they'll go at it again. But from an Armagh perspective, I think it's the perfect draw for them. No Andrew Murnan, no Rian O'Neill, no Jordy O'Burns, and still got through the game by kicking 20 points and winning the game comfortably. So I think from their perspective, they'll be relieved that it was Antrim they were playing and not a Derry or a Donegal or a Monaghan or something. So I would say McGeaney will be pretty pleased. He'll maybe get those men back on their feet. Jordy Og only had a flu, so he'll be back the next day. Murnan will definitely add a bit of value to their attack, and obviously with no Rion and still kicking 20 points, I'd say be delighted.
Who's up next to them, Stevie? Who's up in the
Cavan now? So that is the perceived weaker side of the draw. You have Armagh, Cavan, down in Donegal. I would say out of all 4 teams, I would say all 4 teams will fancy their chances. I know my own kind are very bullish about their chances in Ulster, and why not? Because they're playing a Donegal team that are rock bottom by the looks of it. And Ryan McHugh leaving the panel. You know what I mean? That's a big alarm bell for me.
Yeah, it says a lot. It'll be interesting on the next few. When is that? A couple of weeks' time, is it? Cavan and Armagh?
Sunday week. That's Sunday week.
Down in Donegal. When is that?
Down in Donegal Sunday week. Derry play for Fermanagh this weekend, and Tyrone play Monaghan.
Okay, good stuff. Lovely stuff, Stevie. Look, we'll leave it there, man. Cheers for the chat. We'll see you next week. Cheers, mate.
Good luck.
Thanks, mate.
Good luck.
Bye.
Good luck.